is the joy of writing the story. It is getting the story out of my head. It is challenging myself, to how am I going to write? And, I have 2 book series going, and what am I going to have them do this time? And how am I going to make this book different? And the research involved. So Disturbed Tombs and those books happen in different countries and take place in, with historical characters. So there is a lot of research. I like research. So I go in and do the research with it.
Hi friends, this is Read and Write with Natasha podcast. My name is Natasha Tynes and I'm an author and a journalist. In this channel, I talk about the writing life, review books, and interview authors. Hope you enjoy the journey. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. I have with me today author K.A. Oliver, who's an award-winning author and former Hollywood insider with over 30 years in the film industry. Her novels like Disturbed Tombs and Road to Elysium are known for their cinematic style, strong characters, and thrilling plots. Named Fiction Author of the Year in 2025, Kay continues to inspire readers with stories that blend adventure and mystery. All right. So, Kay, welcome to the show. So excited to have you here with me today. So you are a Hollywood insider. What does that mean? What did you do?
I worked in Hollywood for just over 3 decades. I have a degree in radio, TV, film, and a master's in finance. So I fit right in. Universal Studios for 10 years. I worked at DreamWorks, which is Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg's place. And I worked on Power Rangers, you name it. And I helped work on shows. I did some of my own producing and directing and writing. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Wow. Okay, so that's exciting. Do you still live in Los Angeles?
I still live in that area, yes.
Oh, wow, fun! So you basically mingle with the powerful and the celebrities, I guess.
I call them well-knowns, but yes, yeah, I have friends. Yes.
Okay, fun. So, what made you become an author? You had a great career. You're doing film and TV, and mingling with the famous. Why bother with writing books when you had this thriving career and you decide to? Because writing books is not an easy feast, and it's not that financially rewarding and all of that. So I'm curious.
Mainly because when I worked in Hollywood, and I've been working there for 30 years, so when I started, that it means there were no strong women films really, and there's still not that many of highly intelligent, strong women who solve things or come up with things. And I wanted, I've turned in screenplays that would, great screenplay, but not marketable because it's a strong leading lady. And I just decided that I'm going to write those books instead. And my first book, which you mentioned, Disturbed Tombs, won 4 awards. So I knew I was onto something. And we call them more like hard-boiled, cozy mysteries, meaning that they're just as active and just as strong as, some of the male counterpart leads that are in movies, but they're female. And with the intelligence of, highly intelligent females. And I like writing those. And I've found a core audience that enjoys them as well.
So why books and not like screenplays?
For me, actually, books are easier to write than screenplays because there's so much formatting to a screenplay and so much, different information that you have to put into a screenplay that kind of stops your writing flow.
Mm.
And writing the books, I can just write and write and write, and which is my passion. So I like the books because you can't get the strong female, intelligent female scripts made. So why write them?
How many books did you publish?
I have published 12 and I'm halfway through my 13th.
Oh, wow. So, okay. And do you still work in Hollywood? No, you retired. Okay.
Yes.
And all right. So, how was the publishing journey? So, I'm assuming that you have a lot of connections. So, was it easier to find an agent, or did you self-publish? What was the journey?
I did indie publishing. Finding an agent, even with connections, you have to find somebody that really wants to write or read and be part of, your kind of novel. And I did it for a little bit trying to look, but I just got so antsy. I just
Okay.
self-published. So they're all self-published. But however, my connections, people are looking at Road to Elysium to possibly turn into a movie. And so those connections are still alive. And I've had several people ask for the scripts. So I can
fun.
write the scripts, but I prefer not to. I prefer to just write.
Who do you think should play your characters?
Well, in that book, there is a the male lead would be someone like a Matt Bomer, if you know who he is. He was in he does a lot of great acting. He's about the right age. Kevin Bacon would be good. And then as for the female, I'm not sure.
Okay, and what is the book about?
The book is about redemption, love, and second chances. It is inspired by a true story, and this opens up with the male character Ken is sitting at home on his lounge chair, staring at pictures of his family because he lost them in a tragic accident, and he's trying to remember every feature about them. And he is very, very depressed. He's only going through life, doing what he has to do, the movements of life, until two young kids try to break into his home, thinking no one's home, and that triggers a set of events that happen in his life where he starts wondering why two young boys would break into his home, because his son, had he lived, would be about their age. So he starts wondering about that. And in doing so, goes over to see if he can, help these two young boys, but he doesn't know what to do, how to do it. So he's finding himself sitting across the street, a couple houses down, just looking at the house that the boys live in, when a neighbor whose home he parked in front of, young boy, knocks on his window, startles him and says, "Can you teach me how to throw a football?" And Ken's knee-jerk reaction is to say yes. And in doing so, it sets off the chain of events of him mentoring the young boy. Young boy has his own issues about, breaking through the barriers that we put in life where you have expectations or lack of expectations on you, that his dream to get an education, Ken helps with. And along the way, Ken meets a woman named Adele. And Adele is a charity organizer. She runs a company that sets up charities. And he asked for her help. And of course, that blossoms into something more, but they create a charity. And if you think of Gran Torino meets A Man Called Otto, that is, the movie put together. So I don't want to give more away.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Do you write full time now?
Yes. I do have a part-time teaching. I'm a professor at a university teaching marketing, because I like marketing too, but which is good because you have to do that with your books. But yeah, so I do, but most of the time I am writing, yes.
Speaking of marketing, I think for many authors, marketing is probably harder than writing the book. And how did you market their books? So you published them, so you self-published them where? On Amazon, on like KDP? Okay. And how did you market the books? How did you manage to reach the audience and win awards when you're an indie author?
It's it's a lot of work. Yes, it's probably more work than writing the book. I'm not sure, but especially when you have 12 of them, you have to market them all. But so I would start when I publish my books. I tend to then try to find some awards that they would fit into, and I will apply for the awards. And I will do across all different kinds of social media marketing, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. I would send out press releases when a brand new book published by me. And I started winning awards, which helps you a lot to get noticed by other organizations, even outside of publishing. I got noticed by Who's Who in America and inducted into into that organization. And the same with the International Office or Association of Top Professionals, made Fiction Writer of the Year. I've won over 30 awards. So every time you win an award, that goes out. And then you do your own PR, your own press releases and publishing, and then and you highlight those awards. So, and I have a background in video editing and writing. So I have book trailers for all my books, like a movie trailer.
Okay.
So I have actual book trailers. So I do that as well. Yes, time consuming.
Worked the best for you? So there's a lot of like social media channels, email marketing. What do you think was the highest ROI?
ROI would be press releases. I get.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get a minimum of 40,000 views. In one press release across, wherever you can target your press releases. So I target that, definitely for books and publishing, and then leisure, right? Because people in leisure read. So, easy, 40 to 60,000 views on a press release. And it's a one-time thing. I mean, you just write the release and send it out, right? And it starts to, people start publishing it on their sites. And it's, it's easier than, reboosting and redoing on Facebook and this and that and getting, maybe 11,000, 12,000 hits. But you do both. So I have a mix. I have a marketing mix campaign, so strategy.
What about social media? Is it worth our time? Because few people like and retweet or whatever, but those who actually buy from social media is not that much. Do you agree?
Not that much, but when you have awards to go with it, then, and you find the right pages to post on, yes, most of your responses are coming from people who want to market your book for you, right? Most of the responses you get.
Yeah.
And it kind of cracks me up because they ask questions like, is this your first book? Or, what was your journey like in publishing? And what they want to do is market your book. So I always think to myself, if you just go and look at my webpage, you'd have all these answers, but you're not even taking time to look at my personal webpage. So I don't think you're the person to work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned TikTok and there was a recent article saying that Barnes and Noble is opening new stores, and they're attributing that to the book talk movement. So how has your experience on TikTok been?
My experience on TikTok right now, I'm not too happy with TikTok because I'm not sure what's going on there, but I have run a trailer several times on TikTok and I went to rerun it, and all of a sudden it came back and says it's a political, video. And I'm like,
oh, really?
There's nothing political about it. It's about a book. And, I've been kind of arguing with them that all of a sudden, something that you've approved several times before, all of a sudden you're not approving. So I don't know what's going on there with that. So, but otherwise, before that, I enjoyed it. It was, I put money behind stuff and paid them. But right now I'm not doing any of that because of, them not, looking at my appeal regarding my book trailer. It makes no sense. I don't know if somebody sent in a thing, I don't know.
So if there was one platform that you think authors should be on, where do you think they should be? They can tell you, I don't have the bandwidth, blah, blah, blah. Give me one platform to focus on.
It's going to depend on your target audience.
Okay.
Because if you are looking for someone older that, a leisure reader that has extra time and it's something that they go for, which is kind of mine. Facebook on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday run for an ad is great. So it's not only the format. Instagram is younger people. If you have a younger audience, and you need to find that when are they there? When is that target audience on that format? So it'll depend on your book content and then your target audience, and then you find out which particular social media platform is the right one for you and what time to run it.
Do you think it's worth it to pay for ads on Facebook and Instagram?
Well, you don't have to put a lot into it. I do.
Okay.
I do more Facebook than I do Instagram because I know my audience is probably skews a little older.
Okay.
But you can put, $20 and get a good run on it. You don't need to put a lot of money.
And do actually people buy from seeing the ad on Facebook?
I believe so. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Especially if you can say this book has won, 2 or 3 awards and people go, oh, I want to buy this book. At least the comments I'm getting back from those kind of posts resonate with, I'm going to go purchase this or something. And then I do see you go into Amazon and look at the numbers and there's, purchases. So, yeah.
I want to talk about somehow of a controversial topic among authors these days, which is AI.
I knew that was
I mean, we have to, because everyone's talking about it. How do you feel about using AI, not necessarily in fiction, but in any way, whether it's brainstorming, or do you use AI, or what's your position on AI?
My position on AI, it is pretty good for nonfiction how to do books, right?
Okay.
And then you have to double check it anyway. But for a fiction author in particular, no. You can't really, have it write a chapter or something because it doesn't have the humanity that we need. Mm-hmm. Fiction has to be very close to reality, and and humanity is part of that. But for ideas, or you're having trouble, stumbling over a certain sentence, and you could go in and say, improve the sentence, and it might give you a great idea. But as for writing the story, it is not at this time, not there yet. It'll use repetitive words. It will not give you expression and emotion. It doesn't add that human element of the characters walking through the living room and trips. I mean, it's not going to think of, humans trip, humans stutter, humans, react differently, or, so, turn and looks at glances over at his spouse with that look of, oh, there she goes again. It doesn't give you that feel. So,
yeah.
Totally against it? No, not totally against it. It is a tool in our toolbox.
What if you use it for like an editor or like a developmental editor where you put your chapter and you say, what do you think of this chapter?
I've not done that, so I don't know. But if it improves it, you have to be very careful because it'll change things on you. You can come up with characters you never had in the book or whatever. Yeah, I use an actual human editor because, I want that emotion. I want them to say, oh, here's a spot where you could have said this, or, you could do this. I don't think that AI can do that, especially in fiction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Interesting. So you mentioned you self-publish. Do you have a specific team you work with to self-publish your books, or how is the self-publishing process for you? Hey, quick break before we dive back in. If you've been thinking about writing your book, but do not know where to start, my Write Your Book in 120 Days coaching program can help. It's a step-by-step system that takes you from idea to finished manuscript, with structure, accountability, and personalized feedback every step of the way. You can learn more about the program at natashatynes.com/book coaching. That's natashatynes.com/book coaching. And if you're ready to talk about your project, you can book a free clarity call with me. The link is in the show notes. All right, back to the episode.
Self-publishing process is pretty easy for me, and here's a little tip I'll give everybody. When I started writing books, I wrote novellas, and a novella is 40,000 words, or right around there, a little less. Not a full, complete, fat novel. And I went through the process. I went through how do you make the covers, how does that fit, and I did about 5 of those originally, and then started I combined those 5 and made my first novel out of it. And I'd gone through all the steps and learned how to format. I use the KDP formatting tool. There are other tools. I've used Atticus as well. And I learned, I went through the steps. Well, I didn't know when I started that, because that's just the way I decided to take off little bites and chews, is that many well-known authors, household name authors, write novellas to flesh out their stories. So I, went in not knowing, much about actually publishing and writing books other than I wanted to. And I found that out later. So I was like, wow, I'm in great company. So
What do you mean that they write novellas to flesh out their stories? Can you elaborate on that?
yeah. Like I read that Stephen King will often write a small story, this is like this
Yeah.
1,000 word, and then
Yeah.
flush it out later, right? Like okay, or whatever, or keep it aside and come back to that and write a full novel from it. So not necessarily publish it, but they do write, write their ideas down in smaller books, and then later on write a full novel.
And what's the benefit of it? Is just to get the momentum going, or why would they do a novella and then come back to it?
Well, for me, it was getting the momentum and the story down. And, I did a couple of them that way and then went back and flushed them out with more. I had to get it out of my head. Yeah, you don't want to be in my head. That's the problem with writers, right? I had the story idea. I wrote it. It was too short. I wrote exactly, without the fluff and any of the flower or any of the real emotion, and put that story down, and then go back and say, oh, here I can elaborate on what this house looks like. Here I can elaborate on what took place and what they were feeling, and then fleshed it out to, a 60,000, 80, word novel. So that's why I do it. I can't speak for others, but I'm assuming it's the same kind of process for them.
Any other tools you use? Like, do you use Scrivener? Do you use or you just use like what, Google Docs to write your novel?
I just use Microsoft Word.
Okay.
Yeah. So mainly because I keep that, it's enclosed in your computer. It's not out there. So I do that. And like I said, I use KDP Publishing or Atticus to format. But it's pretty much formatted in very close to what it was going to be at the end anyway in Microsoft Word. I just set up my document and go from there.
Do you hire a typesetter or do you do it yourself?
Nope, I go through the publishing formats. Yeah, no typesetter. Okay. I have an editor. She's great. I also, when I get it back from her and make all the changes, then I sit down with Natural Reader and I let the Natural Reader read the book back to me. So that, if there's anything else I need to catch, I'll catch it in there, or I don't like how something is, I, change it and then go through the publishing process.
A Natural Reader, is it an app or what's it?
It's an app. It's an app. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an app that you can just download.
Okay.
And if you want, it's normally for someone who, has a hard time seeing and wants to hear a book. That's where it was developed from originally. But I use it just to, sit back and listen to the book and go, wait, that doesn't sound, So it sounds different when someone's reading it to you. So
How long does it take you from beginning to end? to
From
finish the book
concept of the book to
to publication? Yeah.
probably 6 months.
Oh, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
What's your secret? And
Well,
how do you keep yourself motivated? Like for I coach authors, and many of them really struggle with motivation. So I'm sure they'd like to hear as well from you is how do you do it, and how do you keep yourself motivated?
so I normally in my head I'm not a plotter. I don't plot out everything.
Okay.
I have in my head the beginning and the end pretty much. And
Okay.
I think because of my Hollywood experience, I'm not sure, but I see it, as like I'm watching a film, so to speak.
Okay.
And then, and I have an idea of what I want in the middle. So I will just start writing.
Okay.
And then I don't finish at the end of a chapter, never ever finish at the end of the chapter for the day. I either leave it, in the middle, 3/4 of the way the chapter's done, or 3/4 of the last sentence, and I leave it and come back to it tomorrow, because then you pick up where you were at last. So you don't have that writer's block. You start, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I was thinking about this. And then you just start writing again. So thank God on 13 novels, I haven't had a writer's block. But I also like to sit back and think to myself, where can I put a twist in the story? Or, or something will happen in my life that I go, oh, that would be great in that book, right? Our writers are notorious for that. If you're my friend, there's a good chance you're going to show up in my book. So, I do those kind of things. And you can't worry about all the editing when you're writing the first drafts, right? Don't even worry about that. There's some people who like to actually perfect everything as they're moving along. That's not how good novels come out. They come out in the edit stage. So, so I tend to just write. Don't worry about anything. I might do a spelling correction and this and that, but for the overall book, I get the idea out and not worry about perfection at the beginning. It's not the place to worry about that. It's better to just write.
And how many hours do you write?
I probably write 1 to 2 hours a day.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And you finish in 6 months. Wow. That's so 1 to 2 hours a day, and then you have a complete book in 6 months.
Yes.
Wow, you must be really fast.
That's everybody says I'm a machine. Well, the other thing is I overlap them. So once my book goes to an editor, my editor, I'm starting my next book.
Okay.
So say another, 4 weeks are done with her editing. I've written probably 6 to 7 chapters of the next book. So, I do overlap them.
What keeps you going? Like for me, it's like, I want to ask about your mindset and your motivation. What makes you keep going and publishing? What is the joy that you get? Is it the reader? Like what keeps you doing what you're doing?
It is the joy of writing the story. It is getting the story out of my head. It is challenging myself, to how am I going to write? And, I have 2 book series going, and what am I going to have them do this time? And how am I going to make this book different? And the research involved. So Disturbed Tombs and those books happen in different countries and take place in, with historical characters. So there is a lot of research. I like research. So I go in and do the research with it. I even had the compliment, because my first book, Disturbed Tombs, takes place in Sudan, mainly, a little bit in Egypt, but more tombs and mummies are in Sudan. And a guy that was from that area wrote back and said, "You've been there, haven't you?" And I'm like, "No." Right? He goes, "Well, you got it all right." And I was like, that's very important to me. I had published some Power Ranger graphic novels, not me as an author, but me as the project manager of it. And I would have arguments sometimes with the writers and the graphic artists that Power Ranger wouldn't do that. Power Ranger wouldn't say that. This wouldn't happen. And they'd be like, and I'd say the fans are dedicated fans. You start coming up with stuff that they'll never do, and they're not going to you screw up the first book, they're going to not like the rest of them. So, and it turned out to be true because even people wrote back and said, this is better than the show. So, so it was, it's very important to, as you know, fiction writing is, to make it as real as possible and fiction at the same time. So a lot of people tell me they learn from my books. They'll be like, wait, that's got to be a real thing the way she's mentioning it. And when you start reading my books, people start figuring out, I need to go look this up. I've never heard of this. And they go and try to find out, oh, here it is, So Boudica from England is in one of my books. And people go, who's Boudica? And they go look it up and find out she used to battle the Romans with chariots before the Romans ever had them. So, they just kind of go, what in the world? Yeah. So I enjoy that. I enjoy people discovering history with me. So that's fun.
How do you do your research?
I do. That's Google. That's friends that I have. So I just published, my last book I published is called A Powerful Disturbance. And I told my girlfriend that I needed two characters I needed a character that had been buried and exhumed for the book. And the being exhumed is an important part of the Disturbed Tombs series. And she gave me a character and I went, well, let me see, out of South America. And I started looking into that and I was like, oh my gosh, he was exhumed. And not only that, his arch enemy, the person who turned out to be his arch enemy over time, was also exhumed. So it made for so I had to learn a lot about Colombia and Venezuela and the history and why they became better enemies. And it was kind of, it was a journey for me as well as writing the book. So you can come along with me on my journey by reading the book. Yes.
You mentioned your editor a number of times. How do you advise them to find like a good editor like the one you found?
It's great is if you know your book is kind of like someone else's, like that like it's, like I said, for the movie Gran Torino is, Road to Elysium. You can, let's say that was a book. It might have been, I don't know. But let's say that was a book, then you can find out, you can write the author and ask, hey, who's doing your editing? You can do it that way. You can post online and ask people for suggestions as well. There are writing groups, Facebook writing groups online. But it's kind of important to make sure. I've had a couple that are great, one out of the UK, depending on my character, because he was male and one of my books has a strong leading male in it. I wanted to make sure that I was writing in the way that men speak, talk, act. And, so I said, I need you to look at this, edit it and look at this because I want to make sure I'm not putting too much of me into a character. And, so, it really depends on finding it. You might have, I will tell you, I had a couple that didn't work out for me. So don't be surprised. I was surprised at how many errors were in it after I got it back and published it and caught it later, too late. But, so, trial and error also, but mainly ask other authors, who's your editor? What kind, especially if the book is similar to yours.
Wow. So when is your next book coming out?
I'm 13 chapters in. It's now April, May, probably June or July.
Soon.
Maybe July. Yeah.
Oh, and the name of it is?
I'm still working on the title. I normally, I normally don't get the title until I write something. So in the sense of saying, someone makes this comment and that comment becomes the title of the book. So my second book was Sisters in Cold Blood, and it's about somebody inheriting a house. And as they start to, redecorate the house, this confession letter from 1909, years ago, a century ago, falls out, and she finds out that it's a confession letter from a serial killer. And she decides she wants to follow up on these, who he claims he's killed, and has to do research herself. So I'm doing research about her doing research. And in the long run, they start to see all these missing women because of also police didn't have the technology they have today, were not really followed up on and never found. And she ends up, referring to them as all sisters in cold blood.
Mm.
And so that's where the title came from. Like, oh my God, all these women are sisters in cold blood because they were killed in cold blood. So, that's how I come up with titles.
I like that. Well, yeah, this been great, Kay, and it's very inspiring. Any final advice or tips, especially for indie authors? And now the majority of authors that I talk to actually choose the indie author route. Even some of them had an agent or a publisher, then they went back to self-publishing. So what kind of tips or motivational tips would you give them?
Yeah, you know what? Make sure that your writing space is something you want. So I went out and bought a new desk. I put a nice little plant. It's facing a window. I need to see outside. I need to see the world go by. And make sure that you are disciplined enough to at least write 15, 20 minutes a day. And then it might grow from there. Another trick I use is you'll find characters in my books who are actually my girlfriends or somebody I know. And I will say to them, I would like to put you in my book as a character. Give me your, a new last name. What last name would you like in the book? Well, why does that help me? Because I know all about them. I know they like blueberry muffins. I know they get mad at this or they love to do that. I have a full flushed out character. The only thing that sometimes, I might be writing a scene and go, let me call my friend and see if she's okay if I write the scene with her in it, right? Because, like, oh, they're getting kissy, mushy, and they're always like, yes, no one's going to know it's us. And then I turn around and say, and this is the character. This is my friend who's a character. But
that's a good idea, actually. If you base it on somebody, it's easier to describe it.
Yeah,
describe the character. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, you got.
I mean, if I want to summarize some of the tips that you gave us, one was never start writing an empty chapter. I think that's a very powerful one. Base it on somebody else, somebody you already know. What else?
Character. Make sure you write 10 to 15 times, 15 minutes a day. Just starting. Novellas are okay to start with and just get through the actions of the publishing and the editing and creating a book cover. And,
and you sell it, but then when you sell it as a novel, do you increase the price or what do you do?
Oh, yeah. Yes, you can absolutely increase the price to a novel. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like that.
And then normally I delete the novella, right? You can remove the novella from being sold. So, the novella. So, yeah.
Do you change the name?
I did change the name. Yeah, because yes, absolutely did change the name.
So you publish it as a novella, you sell it, then remove it and turn it into a novel.
Right. Turn it into a novel, then remove it. Tell it. And
then turn it into a movie.
The other thing you can do with it is give it away as a free, here's chapter 1 or here's chapters 1 through 6.
Yeah.
Right. Of this book. This is a freebie, and get people drawn into the story, and then they might pick up your novel. So you can use it in many different ways.
I'm doing that on Substack, and I think I gave away 4 chapters so far for my new book. Do you think it's a good idea? Have people, they call it serializing a novel? Have you heard of that new trend?
Yes,
on
yes,
Substack.
Yes. Yeah. I use BookFunnel. You can do that too, but BookFunnel, you get into promos and promotions. People put up promotions, and you can join a promotion if your book fits the description of the promotion. There is a lot of Kindle Unlimited promotions, which I love. And I know my readers in my newsletter, I do a newsletter too, I didn't mention that, but my readers of my newsletter love it when I send out, hey, here's another Kindle, which means technically a free book, and then you get the Kindle pages as they read. but they come out, you might be part of a group of 30 books in a book funnel. And my last book funnel, KU promotion, I had over 3,000 clicks on my link.
So what's book funnel? I heard about it. I'm not sure how it works. What is it exactly?
Yeah, book funnel. You set up you set up your books. You have pages for your books.
Okay.
And it will send. You can have them send it to Amazon. So if someone clicks on it to learn more about your book, it'll take them to your page in Amazon where they can buy it. And then there's different things you can do with it. But the promotion part that I'm speaking about, you go over to the book funnels promotions. Active promotions that are happening, and you scroll through and find, whatever promotion you want to do, a horror film, romance, whatever the promotion is for. And then you go in and say, I want to add my book to your promotion. Okay. And then you get a personal link, and then you advertise that link, and it takes them to the entire promotion. So there's 30 people doing this, or how many books are in there? All those authors are sharing that link. So not only are you sharing it and people are going in and looking at all the books there, the other 30 people are looking at, all their readers are looking at those other 30 link, that link and all those books there. So it's like authors working together.
So you pay for the promotion, right?
No.
So how do you do you give away your book for free in the promotion, or what do you do?
Well, there's different promotions, but if it's a Kindle Unlimited, that's, and they're
for free.
That's for free. Otherwise your price is on there. So, there are some that are for sales. There are promotions for newsletters. There are Kindle promotions. Okay. There's lots of different promotions for different types of books.
Interesting. That's another tip.
And you can do your own promotion if you want. You don't see what you need there. You can create your own promotion and get other authors to join with you.
Wow, that's good to know. Wow. Well, this has been amazing, and lots of great tips, and I'm sure it's going to be very useful to many people who are listening or watching. So how can people get in touch with you, sign up to your newsletter, buy your books? How can they reach you?
Yes, they can go to my name, actually, kaoliver.com, KAYAoliver.com. And I do have writing tips for free. You don't even need to give me your email address. Writing tips on my website. I probably have got about 30 blogs now about different writing tips, developing characters, finding your voice. When should you end a novel? Because there are some people who write way beyond where they should stop. They don't know how to, to wrap up the novel, to editing, to copywriting. It's important that before you send it out to anybody, editor included, that you online, you copyright it. I've seen other people say, well, it's in my computer, it has a date and time. That's not really an official copyright, and that's challengeable. So, it costs you $65 in the US to protect your material. It's worth it. So, you can do it all online too. So, I always recommend before you send it out anywhere that you officially copyright it. And unless you're making huge changes to your books, you don't have to recopyright it. Okay. So as long as the general idea is there anyway. So that is where I would say I am on, and on there are my links to all my social media on kaoliver.com. You'll find my links to social media. I'm on Blue Sky as well, one that most people haven't been really talking about, but there's a lot of authors there.
Oh, really?
And we support each other. So
I didn't know that. I've seen a lot of authors on Threads.
Yes. Because you can set up your Facebook to automatically
Instagram. Instagram.
Or Instagram. Yeah.
Or one of them.
One of them.
Yeah.
Somebody owns both. Yeah.
It's hard to keep up. I mean, I've been mostly active on Substack and LinkedIn. But
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Yes.
But yeah, this is great. So thank you very much, Kay, for your time. And thank you, everyone, for staying here with us and for joining us for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. And until we meet again.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Me too. Thank you for tuning in to Read and Write with Natasha. I'm your host, Natasha Tynes. If today's episode inspired you in any way, please take the time to review the podcast. Remember to subscribe and share this podcast with fellow book lovers. Until next time, happy reading, happy writing. Hey, just a quick pause to share something I'm really excited about. My new novel, Karma Unleashed, is finally out. It's a supernatural suburban thriller set between the Middle East and the American suburbs, weaving together themes of identity, immigration, and mystical visions. If you love stories with heart, mystery, and a touch of the mystical world, this one is for you. You can grab your copy now. Just search Karma Unleashed by Natasha Tynes on Amazon. And of course, the link is in the show notes. Thanks for supporting indie authors like me. All right, back to the show.